Okay, you can begin.
Good afternoon, honorable members. Welcome to our class debate for this semester. Let us pray. Almighty God, we give thanks to you, creator of the universe, and humbly beseech you to direct and prosper the deliberations of the members of this house, assembled for the advancement of your glory and the trust and welfare of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Grant that peace and happiness, truth and justice may be established among us for all generations. Amen. Amen. Namaste. House announcements. All members are present for today's proceedings. We will now move on with the House's business. Honorable Speaker of the House, I now hand over to you to commence this afternoon's sitting.
Good afternoon, members of parliament, honorable members who open with the debate of leaders. We are made, they are not born. The honorable members are reminded that the speaking time is 4 minutes with no extension. May the member of Nissan brought forward with its presentation.
I'm here. Good afternoon. Again?
Yes, please.
I'm sorry. Good afternoon, Madam Speaker, distinguished guests, teachers, and students. As the Minister of Rogue, I am one of the representatives for the affirmative team. My colleagues who are here with me are Alicia Buchan, Minister of TIDA, Hakeem Dubling, Minister of Leaf, and Shakira Pierre, Minister of Navarro. Over the past 3 decades, a plethora of studies have been conducted evaluating the heritability or training of a leader. There is much debate about whether a leader is born or made. The affirmative team is here to put an end to this age-old debate and put forth a strong argument that leaders are born. Madam Speaker, firstly, Jacob Morgan 2020 wrote an article titled, "What is Leadership and Who is a Leader?" He defined a leader as someone who can see how things can be improved and who rallies people to move forward that better vision. Another author postulates that a leader is a person who is appointed, elected, or informally chosen to direct and coordinate the work of others in a group. Fielder, 1995. Harvard's Business Review defined leadership as the accomplishment of a goal through the direction of human assistance. Therefore, while leadership depends on a leader, leadership and leaders are not the same and must not be confused. So after defining the concept and analyzing the main theories of leadership, we can say that the ability to influence others depends on the leader's behavior and trait. Is it possible for people who are not born with the making of a leader to become a great leader? The answer is no. Sure, people can try to pick these up, but they will never be as good as the person that have them as a natural talent. No amount of theories will give people the character, the vision, or presence to be a great leader, because these are aspects of personalities that are extremely difficult to learn. This is due to the inborn trait or talent that can never be cultivated via training. Let's look at this example, Madam Speaker. Communication comes a lot easier to put someone who with a gift for articulation and listening. Further, to simply suggest that leaders do not enter the world with extraordinary endowment is to imply that people enter the world with equal ability, with equal talents. Thomas Carlyle, 1840. It's just laughable. While there is no standard definition for leader, there are many kinds of leadership that exist in today's environment. Whether you, when thinking about outstanding leaders, whether present day or historical, like Hitler, Mother Teresa, Madam Speaker, Mahatma Gandhi, and Martin Luther King, just to name a few, one may question how they became such notable leaders. Were they born this way or were they taught to lead? The great man theory, popularized in 1940s by Thomas Carlyle, suggested that leadership traits are intrinsic, meaning that great leaders are born and will emerge when confronted with the appropriate situation. Madam Speaker, the biblical evidence presented here today also support that leaders are born and not made. The Bible has been around for thousands of years. Historically, it has been the cause of much good as well as the scapegoat for much disagreement. Some have loved the book and some have hated it. But when examining outside its religious, historical context, few can say that it's anything less than a masterpiece. The depth of the character within of the people within the Bible stories are astounding. They faced great challenges and overcame them with faith and endurance. Take, for example, the greatest man that ever walked this earth. Yes, his name is Jesus. He taught us leaders as servants. One of the most powerful image is in the life of Jesus is when he washed his disciples' feet in John 13. When he was finished, he said to them, you call me teacher and Lord, and you are right. So if I am Lord and teacher and I wash your feet, you also ought to wash another one's feet. Jesus, of course, is not really talking about feet here. He's talking about servant leadership. Great leaders focus on serving those who follow them. Great leaders wash their people's feet. Yes, a born leader in all form. Were there any leadership 101 classes then to learn how to lead? I believe the answer is a resounding no. This is why the government of Nissan believes that leaders are born and not made. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the team affirmation member Rogue. Your point was well presented. We will have a minute and a half intermission. I now ask that the member of Team Lamborghini to present.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. A pleasant good evening to Mr. and Madam Speaker, fellow delegates, and Servisu. To address this motion, let me start by introducing the opposition side's names and members. We are the Parliament of Lamborghini. Our members include Member of Jarama, Member of Contach, Member of Diablo, and Member of Jalpa. In the late 19th centuries, there was a great Indian lawyer whose name was Mahatma Gandhi. He had an average background with no deferrable traits of a leader. Yet, when we think about the great leaders in the 20th century, Gandhi is one of them. Gandhi was not born a leader. He became one through civil rights and movement. We are gathered here today to debate on the very important motion that leaders are made and not born. We, the opposition team, strongly back this motion. As the first speaker, I will define the topic and take this opportunity to present the opposing views against the motion. Leadership is just like any other skill which you can develop if you put effort and practice onto it. What is a leader? A leader is the one in charge and someone who inspires passion and motivation in followers. Also, one who influences a group of people towards the achievement of a goal. However, there are many types of leaders, such as autocratic, transformational, charismatic, transactional, supportive, democratic. How would you know what type of leader you are? Also, if leaders are born, then why have so many different types of leaders when there can just be one? At this point in today's debate, the Member of Parliament for Lamborghini strongly reiterates that leaders are born and not made. Allow the Minister of Diablo to move on to the Members of Parliament for Lamborghini's views on this motion.
If leaders are born, then tell us who was the last leader that was born yesterday? No, you cannot tell me who was born yesterday. That simply does not make any sense. Nature impacts on how one leads and the experiences that make someone a leader. Hence the reason the government of Lamborghini strongly believes once again that leaders are made, not born.
Speaker, speaker, I mean, not
Yes.
speaker, member of parliament. Unfortunately, you did not ask permission to raise your point.
Wait. Oh no, I'm continuing the introduction for this part.
But you're supposed to ask permission first.
I'm sorry, can I please speak?
Proceed.
Okay. Um, Nature impacts on how one leads and the experiences that make someone a leader. Hence the reason the government of Lamborghini strongly believes once again that leaders are made, not born. There is no possible way that a leader can be born. A poll was constructed by the government of Lamborghini asking the public the debating question of whether they think leaders are made or born. The poll's results were that 89% claimed leaders are made and the remainder, 11%, obviously chose that leaders are born. How is that possible? Take into consideration our Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Keith Rowley. Mr. Rowley was born in Mason Hall, but not as a leader. However, he became a leader through education and experiences. Leaders are made by practicing. They transform their leadership ability. As a person matures, they understand, learn, and recognize their leadership style. Effective leaders are made, not born. They learn from trial and error and from experience. The government of Lamborghini now ends with the quote, "True leaders ensure continuous development of their leadership skills throughout the course of their careers by learning and developing materials and activities." Thank you.
Thank you very much, Team Lamborghini. Your point was well presented. I would like to inform Team Affirmation Nissan that they have 1 minute that they can use probably to pass on to their other person, maybe because I mentioned that the presentation will be 4 minutes. You have 4 minutes to present, but it's really 5. Sorry about that. We will close with intermission for a minute and a half. Point of order. Members of Parliament needs to take note of the guidelines for the debate. We proceed now, and we ask that Team Affirmation Nissan present with their first rebuttal.
Madam Speaker, my colleagues have argued that leadership is more of nature, but I, the Minister of TIDA, will show you just a little more reasons why this is not the case. As in 2002, an article by Scotch and Brandt in the Harvard Business Review reported that leadership is hardwired in a person before they have reached their learning peak or even before they have reached their early 20s. You might be wondering how this is possible, but the answer is very simple. It is through genetics. Research has shown that traits associated with leadership are inherited and can be passed from generation to generation. Research from University College London, Harvard, and the New York University has discovered a new genotype called RS4950. This study analyzed DNA samples from over 4,000 persons and discovered that the gene influences whether someone will likely to rule or be ruled. These genes were found in great leaders such as Martin Luther King, who was a born leader. At the age of 19, he was the minister of Ebenezer Baptist Church. Gandhi, another born leader, who was determined and fought for the freedom for his country from the British. However, there are some not so good leaders, such as Adolf Hitler, who was a born leader. He led the largest military, terrorist, and economic expansion in the world. With this being said, one may ask what are some of the leadership traits a person possesses. They are confidence, influencing, vision, integrity, and communication. But one of the most important traits people tend to forget is originality. Ask yourself, is a 12-step mentorship program going to help you become your authentic self or even lead authentically? When researching what is a true leader, this definition was found. A true leader makes an effort to help develop their team skills so that they can reach their full potential. But how can one help someone reach their full potential if they are not even genuine themselves? An example of this was when Steve Jobs returned to Apple in 1997. His task, what he did amazingly, to turn over the failing company he co-founded. His ability to think and act differently, restore the company, and move it into a whole new arena with music and cell phones that we enjoy now. Madam Speaker, when we watch the wiring of a person's brain, it shows another major aspect why leaders are born and not made. We know the human brain is the most important part of the body as it is the command center for the nervous system and enables thoughts, memory, movement, emotions through complex functions. A study by the Journal of Applied Psychology explored the brain complexity. When testing the activity in the prefrontal cortex of the brain, Professor Sean Hanna and his team found that certain areas are correlated with more decisive adaptive traits in leaders. Another study by David A. Waldman, a management professor at Arizona State, which began in 2005 studying the neurologic patterns of successful engineers and senior management. With this research, it turns out that brains of effective leaders displayed similar electric patterns as the subjects rated inspirational. It generated high level of cohesion in the right frontal part of the brain, responsible for the interpersonal communications and social relationships. Madam Speaker, when we look at transformational leader, which is the most influential out of all leaders, their brain uses less metabolic energy in the right temporal lobe. The cingulate gyrus, which is linked with creative speech among all other functions, giving more resource to allocate specific tasks. With this, ladies and gentlemen, we can see that the science speaks for itself, that leaders are born and not made. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Team Nissan member Tida. Your rebuttal was well presented. Now we have an intermission, 4 minutes and a half. Call on a point of order. I would like to know from a member of Team Nissan what it is they would like to do with the extra minutes that they have from the introduction. Is it that they're going to pass it to someone for the conclusion?
Madam Speaker, we will pass it to the person who is doing the conclusion.
Noted. I ask that a member of Team Lamborghini present their rebuttal against.
Good day, Madam Speaker. This is Member of Parliament Contact. I ask for your permission to speak.
Proceed.
I would like to ask the audience to ponder on the genetic aspect which was brought up by the affirmative side. Based on genetics, a young man entering the military, do you think that based on his genetics or his physical attributes that he can instantly become, let's say, a sergeant, a general? No, a young man entering the military must undergo certain trainings, certain drills, and gain certain experience before he can move up in the rigid ranked system of something like the military. This is a system that spans across different countries and is used, but have been used for decades. So we know for sure that these soldiers, which are usually taken up from a young age and trained to become master servant, well, leaders on the field, training their groups and their troops, going out and fighting other other soldiers as well who would have undergone the same process. They have their drills. And similarly to us here in school undergoing our lectures, our texts, we are gaining this experience and this knowledge passed on. And I would like to quote, look back on our Exploring Leadership textbook, which mentions six foundational principles of leadership. And one in particular is that leadership qualities can be learned and developed. Effective leadership starts with self awareness and grows to an understanding of others. This here is in our text and has been taught throughout this class. And throughout this class, which is intends to build our leadership skills. So, beside that, there's a European Journal of Educational Research paper titled "Using Personal and Social Responsibility Model," the personal and social responsibility model for gaining leadership behavior in students. So the study group consisted of 55 first grade high school students. It was split into 28 students for the experimental group. This group similarly went through 16 lectures over the span of 8 weeks. The other half of the students, the 27 students, were in a control group, and they did not participate in any of the lectures. All of these 55 students were examined well, with a pretest based on the personal and social responsibility behavior scale, and which was developed in 2018, and as well as the leader behavior description questionnaire, which was developed in 1956. So after the experimental group has went through the series of lectures that was designed to build leadership qualities and skills, and they all did the test again, all 55 students did the test again. After analysis, the results proved that the experimental group had a noticeable improvement in scores, whilst the control group showed no substantial improvement. Now, this is a couple of first grade high school students. Just within 2 months, 16 lectures, they were able to improve their leadership qualities and skills, which is necessary skills for all of us. And even ourselves in this class, we note that we are building our leadership skills and qualities. So I would like to ask, how?
Lamborghini member, Contard. Unfortunately, your time is up.
No problem. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Okay. We have a minute and a half intermission before we proceed to the second rebuttal conclusion. Point of order. Just a reminder that in the conclusion, your information supporting your stance cannot be brought forward at this point. I now ask that a member of Team Nissan present the second rebuttal conclusion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good evening to the Madam Speaker and to the members of Parliament. I am the Minister of Leaf, and my team and I believe that leaders are indeed born and not made. My point and stance on this statement will be influenced by the personality of a born leader. How often have you heard the comment, is he or she a born leader? There are certain characteristics found in some people that seem to naturally put them in the position where they are looked up to as a leader. Of the great leaders of the past, leaders such as Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar, Napoleon, Queen Elizabeth I, and Abraham Lincoln, we will find that they do seem to differ from ordinary human beings in several aspects. The same applies to the contemporary leaders like George W. Bush and Mahatma Gandhi. They definitely possess high levels of ambition coupled with clear visions of precisely where they want to go. These leaders are cited as naturally great leaders, born with a set of personal qualities that made them effective leaders. Even today, the belief that truly great leaders are born is common. Top executives, sports personalities, and even politicians often seem to possess that aura that sets them apart from others. According to contemporary theorists, leaders are not like other people. They do not need to be intellectually genius or omniscient prophets to succeed, but they definitely should have the right stuff, which is not equally present in all people. True leaders know that they are born for a purpose, and for that purpose, society becomes their laboratory. Although people can learn new things in their lifetime, they can only learn content. The great man theory of leadership was considered as a quality associated with mostly the males, and therefore the theory was given its name. But later, with the emergence of many great born women leaders as well, the theory was recognized as the great person theory. The great person theory of leadership states that some people are born with the necessary attributes that set them apart from others, and that these traits are responsible for their assuming positions of power and authority. A leader is a hero who accomplishes goals against all odds for their followers. The theory implies that those in power deserve to be there because of their special endowment. Furthermore, the theory contends that those traits remain stable over time and across different groups. Thus, it suggests that all great leaders share these characteristics regardless of when and where they lived or the precise role in history that they fulfilled. I want to repeat that for you guys. It suggests that all leaders share these characteristics regardless of when and where they lived or their precise role in the history that they fulfilled. If you were to place one of these great leaders in modern day situations and conflicts, they will remain as impactful simply because they were born to lead. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Speaker. May I request to present the conclusion? I am Minister of Navarra on Team Nissan.
Proceed.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Speaker, distinguished guests, teacher, and students. I am Minister Navarra. In conclusion, there are certain inborn characteristics that predispose people to be and become leaders. There is a significant difference between learning a skill and mastering one, in the same way that others are born with amazing musical gifts and athletic talents. They will excel in these naturally. They will excel naturally in these areas, but others would be like a fish out of water and may struggle to get the same point across. Born natural leaders are different to made artificial leaders. All remarkable leaders have great history behind them. They were leaders from the onset of their journey, as purported by the examples given about leaders. Also, companies, besides looking at your qualifications, they are focusing on personality traits and behavioral approach to leadership. The equality of a leader has become very important, but an effective leader more so. Effective leadership is about the innate qualities that one possesses. At the end, we can conclude by summarizing that leaders are born, not made. As it is seen in the biblical evidence, psychological evidence, scientific evidence, and characteristic traits, personnel born with these are destined to be an excellent leader. I also have a quote from the great Bruce Barton. It is said that great leaders are born, not made. The saying is true that no man can persuade people to do what he wants them to do unless he genuinely likes people and believes that what he wants them to do is to their own advantage. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Team Nisa Navarro, for your point. It was your conclusion. It was well presented. We'll have a minute and a half intermission before we conclude with Team Lamborghini. I ask that Team Lamborghini present with their second rebuttal conclusion.
Good afternoon, Madam Speaker, members of Parliament, and Mr. Bisu. I am Minister Jarama. Something that definitely isn't new to us is this debate. We're all here and in it now, but is it happening at the beginning of the semester? Could we have had this debate then as we're having it now? I'm sure you already see the answer to these questions as a resounding no. We've earned these honorable positions as mediators and members of parliament after a particular period of time within the class, after knowledge has been gained and traits have been groomed. Now we can speak genuinely on our belief because we have put all the time and energy needed to actually form one. We've gone through a class to understand every angle of the topic and can now lead a more effective debate on it. As Minister Contouch stated before, someone may follow in the footsteps of a family member by entering the army, but they won't be taken in as a sergeant just because their father was a sergeant. They enter as a private, like everyone else, and learn, or rather earn, their way up to a leadership position. Even if we think of it in a more general way, with much more general questions like, why do we send our children to school anyway? Why do we teach them how to talk, how to use the potty, or help them learn their numbers and ABCs? Why not just send them out into the world? Why do we even go to school for that matter? From pre-K to primary to secondary, and then the many levels of tertiary education after that. School has been known for years as a major stress to our health sometimes. So why do we push ourselves through it? That answer is simply because we all know that education is needed to make us better leaders of our lives. There's a reason why we don't vote for a 2-year-old toddler to run the country. We vote for someone who has the ability to understand the different aspects of leadership and can make more conscious decisions for the country. Leadership comes in a process. It isn't set at birth. We come to specific times in life where our minds can truly understand and learn it at best. Like I said before, a perfect example of this is what we're all doing here now in this tertiary education class of leadership and ethics. We couldn't study it in primary school because we wouldn't fully understand its concepts. Even the book that we're studying from specifies that in its name, Exploring Leadership for college students who want to make a difference. To me, this class has a lot of value, so I take its words very seriously, Madam Speaker. It not only certifies my understanding of a leader, but it also has taught me the 6 foundational principles of leadership, as Minister Contouch touched on before. One of those principles literally states that, quote, today's leaders are made, not born, unquote. And for the same reason that I've stated before, effective leadership qualities and skills can be learned and developed. If we agree with the statement that leaders are born, not made, then aren't we ironically going against the class that we're all in? I now hand you over to Minister Diablo for conclusion.
Madam Speaker, I, Minister of Diablo, ask permission to conclude.
You can proceed, but I'm just mentioning that you have 1 minute.
Okay. In conclusion, for this debate, the members of Lamborghini strongly agree that leaders are made and not born. Someone born yesterday cannot be a leader. Nature impacts on how one leads and the experiences that make someone a leader. To be a leader, you need values, beliefs, style, passion, empathy, and most importantly, followers. The polls results prove what the majority knows that leaders are made as opposed to born. Education is a major factor in becoming a leader. Leadership comes in a process where our minds can truly understand and learn it at best. Thank you, members, for your vivid attention.
We adjourn the House for 8 minutes to deliberate on the motion.